y'all check out this comment. We'll put it on the screen right now. What we got going on is OJ Amalo. He said, Laos already ran a 6.43 split at Budapest last year. He ran 9.83 in the race. His best from 60 meters to 100 meters was 3.37 from 2019. But in Budapest, it was 3.4. But then there's some things that we can break down that maybe we can understand why that may or may not be true. We're going to break down some of the things that Christian and Noah do, especially Christian, and why he is such a great starter, because he runs out of his push. He accelerates out of his start, not by lifting his head up and lifting his body up, but using his arms to accelerate out of the push to the point where his body is naturally up. So what we're going to break down now is exactly how Christian has done that in some of his best races. That's exactly what he does. So let's bring out the tape. This is Brussels. I'm pretty sure this is like either 2019 or 2018. I'm not sure. This is the Diamond League Championship in Brussels, so we can look that up. But essentially, this was one of Christian's fastest races to date. And I'm pretty sure that I was either I think it was 18 or something, because I was graduating college or I was just out. So in this race, what I want us to pay attention to is, as soon as Christian gets out, number one, when you see Christian have his best races, his start is smooth, meaning that he's not out wide left and right. He's more streamlined forward, and it's clean, as in he's not wasting any motions. Now, Christian is one of the best starters, if not the best starter in the world right now. I would say he's the best starter. Trayvon Bromell, probably him and Christian, 1 and 2, right? Christian and Trayvon, especially on their best days. Hopefully Trayvon's healthy this year, and we can see Trayvon kind of enter into this discussion as well. I want you to pay attention to how, number one, not only does Christian not go left and right in his start, but he stays streamlined, and he also, you can tell his arms stay streamlined, because when he goes left and right, his arms typically get left and right. They get wide instead of being skinny. But what I want you to pay most attention to is how he accelerates out of his start. He doesn't just lift his chest up. You'll see a lot of other people in the race, once they realize that they're behind, they lift their chest up and they're just trying to run. Lift their head up and just try to run. But Christian is very patient in his push and his start and his acceleration into his top end speed. And then from there, when I say stay open, I mean he's not rushing his motions. He's not trying to hurry up and put his feet on the ground. He's allowing his natural range of motion to be completed every step as much as possible, meaning he's going to try to take less steps to the finish line, right, than everybody else. Now, he's shorter than most people, so he's going to have more steps to the finish line in 100 than most anyways, but he's completing his motions. And if we're completing our motions, you're going to be more powerful and you're going to take less steps than if you were to be rushing your steps and trying to hurry up and get to the finish line. So the patience of it actually leads to you running faster. So let's watch it in full speed. He's accelerating out of his push. He slowly rises. You saw how he slowly rose, and then he kept running. Then he got to his top speed, and you see the result. You know what I'm saying? He's running all over the stadium because he's hype. Ran straight through the high jump. So let's go back. If we go back and we watch this in half speed, you can see that Christian doesn't rush his acceleration out of his push. And when he has his best races, this is exactly what he does. He does not rush. He takes his time. He's more streamlined in his motions. Arms are going straight forward and back as much as possible. And that leads to your legs going straight forward and back as much as possible. See, right now, all the other athletes, chest is up, head is up. Pretty much. Alright? Pretty much. But Christian is not. Just watch how he's patient. His eyes are forward, down at the track at a diagonal, instead of straight ahead. So he's working his arms to run faster, and that is where the distance, because look, we're going to look at this hopefully in the side-by-side view, but that's where the distance comes from, where he puts distance between him and the next person, the next guy, was all in the acceleration. And then they don't make up any room. He doesn't give any room after that. Alright, after what we saw with him accelerating out of his start instead of just lifting his head up, and then, because if you notice, when you lift your head up, you lift your chest up, you immediately go backwards. Now, Christian not doing that, stay forward, hips forward, continuing to push forward. That's where the distance is created. So when we're talking about someone who runs faster in the 60, how can they sustain that speed? For example, with the comment they said that Lyles ran 6.43 in the split in Budapest. I'm sure Christian ran a little bit faster than that in this race, being that he ran, I think it was 9.79, whereas Budapest Lyles ran 9.83. So how does Christian then keep his form? How does he, after a super fast start, being in front of everybody by 5 to 10 meters, then stay 5 to 10 meters ahead? He's completing his motions. He's not rushing. Now, Christian has a tendency to not get his full, like his knee all the way up. When we watch Lyles, you'll see that Lyles naturally gets his knees a little bit higher, so he has more power to put down. But I've trained with Christian. Christian can lift almost 500 to 600 pounds, literally, squatting. So his knee drive doesn't necessarily have to be as high, because he can put down the same amount of force as somebody who's getting their knee all the way up, maybe like a Usain or somebody like that, right? So depending on the athlete, you have to use the strengths that you have. Just because Christian doesn't get his knees all the way up doesn't mean that he can't run faster than any time anybody else has run. It's more about him completing his motions and doing the things that he does best, but also in the back end of his race, where whenever he doesn't run his fastest, he typically, he starts to shuffle a little bit more. And when I've trained with him, I mean, the guy is a beast. Like, in training with Christian, I've never noticed him shortening his motions to try to get to the finish line. He was always relaxed, and naturally his motions would be completed and he would run extremely fast in the workouts, like you're trying to keep up, and I was behind. I mean, the guy, you know what I mean, he's that good, and I was okay. I was pretty good in college. 10-2 is pretty okay, but like, that's the next level. There's levels to this, right? So when he does this best is when he's relaxed, and you can tell in this race he knows he's in front, he's relaxed. Just watch how he completes his motions. Even though his knees aren't coming up all the way, he's getting his full arm, he's driving his arms back aggressively, and naturally his legs follow. He's not trying to shuffle, he's not trying to hurry up and get to the finish line. He's being patient, he's letting the finish line come to him instead of him trying to hurry up and get to the finish line. And if you notice, you watch some of these races where these guys, they tense up towards the finish line. In the last video we talked about Lyles kind of knowing that he wasn't going to win the race, so he tensed up, so his stride length becomes shorter because he's tight, instead of focusing on executing his motions, staying open, completing those motions all the way to the finish line. Okay, so that's the first race for Christian.
It's a clean start and what a race, a huge roar from the expectant crowd. Great start from Coleman, we expect that. Can Lyles come through? It's very, very tight. It's Noah Lyles! The champion roars once more. Tobogo ran really well on the